Welcome to Just Two Fans, a sports show about sports,
Obviously.
about life,
Because sports are life.
and about just whatever the hell we feel like talking about. So, let's go.
What is up, everybody?
What's good, y'all?
We figured some stuff out.
Maybe we don't
Maybe.
know. We don't
That's
know if
true.
we don't
Let's
know.
know how our audio sounds, listener. 'Cause
for listener / viewer. Actually, viewer. Our listeners are getting great experiences because it's just the same old podcast. But it's
but
the
beginning is
viewers.
the beginning is just us farting around with our audio for 20 minutes, and the listener of the podcast what is going on?
What is happening here? And listener and viewer, you're going to get a special treat from us today. If it sounds like we're talking weird, it's because we are. We have an opportunity to get a clip on a radio, on the actual radio. So we're going to be trying to keep it clean. So we are not bringing up he who must not be named from Pac-12 infamy.
Well, here's the thing. It's going to be the college football segment that's going to be on the radio. So this part won't be on the radio because it's going to be a college football segment.
Are we going to have to do a separate intro for the college football segment?
I don't know. We need to talk to Chris if we need to may need to do some post for
Some edit and
which
post.
is fine. But for now, let's just keep it clean today.
We're just going to try to keep it clean.
We're going to keep it clean all day. That's how it's going to go.
It makes my editing life so much easier if I'm putting together clips of us for the radio just in general.
See, I was here about to throw out an F-bomb and just say he who should not be named's name.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Just because it makes me feel better inside about all
the catharsis that comes with that particular F word is
and that particular name associated with it on this show.
Oh, it just feels so good. It just does the body right.
It really does. It's just
because to heck with that guy. It's gonna be funny, actually. This might be our funniest episode because we're gonna be holding back our swears.
Dude, why did we choose to do this on Hate Week of all weeks?
I didn't even think about. Oh, that's the worst. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Hey, you know what? We're gonna go for it, man.
We're doing it live.
Here's the thing. I think we've been very good this season about the hatred for the school up north. I think we've done a really good job of trying to be somewhat objective about them. And
I think we've been very objective about them.
I think we have too. Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna continue that trend of just being objective. Here's how I'm gonna frame this in my mind. They don't matter. They are just another team in purple. Wife number 1 and therapist number 7. Good day.
The fact that you could quote him, Ari Gold, and keep it clean is, we're off to a hot start.
He picked the only clean line that character has.
Very true. Very
it's
true.
Also one of the best.
Oh, it's so good. I just rewatched that show, just kind of in the background.
Good,
it is just
the bro.
It is the bro-ish show. It walked so that Wolf of Wall Street could run. But it's so good. I tell people, they're like, I'm like, oh yeah, Entourage, and they're like, oh, you watch that? I'm like, yeah. Have you? Or if I'm talking to women about it, I'm like, you won't like it. I don't think. It's just not.
It's what I told Kate. Kate's like, should I watch Entourage? I'm like, no.
I don't think you'll like it.
Especially early 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s bro humor. That show came out in 2004.
It does. It does not hold up.
That those guys do and say it just doesn't. There's no way.
Even through the end seasons where it was 2010, you're still kind of like, oh, guys.
Wow. We were still doing that. All right.
Oh, that was still mainstream.
Good stuff. Speaking of shows and things, I think I texted you guys this yesterday before we get into other sports. Have you guys watched the Beckham documentary on Netflix?
I've seen one clip of it. And that is the clip where he's calling out his wife.
So their interactions throughout the whole thing are incredible, but it is like you poo-pooed the Florida docu-series
because it's terrible.
It's awful. This brings back everything that's great about Netflix docu-series is Beckham. That it's A+. Can't recommend it enough. My wife loved it. Like it's a captivating, very well done docu-series. So if you're looking,
have you guys caught up on Welcome to Wrexham though?
I have not fully caught up. I watched the first 2 episodes of this new season.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well.
It's good. Yeah, it's so good. Love that documentary.
Speaking of which, I don't think I even introduced us today because I was so shocked that our audio was working properly.
Yeah, you didn't. So go ahead now.
So I'm Jamie Friedlander. That's Eli Johnson, and the man behind the curtain that you hear pop in every once in a while is super producer Cameron.
He's our F1 specialist.
I like
F1
that.
specialist.
I wear many hats on this stream.
Smart Alec. Slash every once in a while, just a jab from the glass.
Man, that one episode that he just had the 4 in a row. It's like, what is happening?
I know. I was mad because I'm supposed to be the funny one on the show.
All right. But speaking of Formula One expert, let's just jump right into Formula One because the Qatar Grand Prix took place this last weekend, and it went pretty much as expected.
Well, yeah, Max won. Nothing else was expected.
At the top, nothing else was expected. That is very true.
That was a wild race, man. A 3-stop race just adds so much intrigue. They should all be like that. It was so
if you
great.
ask Max, he did not like it.
Well, yeah, he doesn't like anything, dude. He was mad at a 10-second victory. He was upset. He's like, well, not the best. Man, shut up.
Yeah, he's one of those winners. He wants to win it by all of it. Like, it's not an inch or a mile. It's 3 minutes minimum is his personal requirement.
I must win by 3 laps.
Yeah. No, but I think that the 3 stops because of the degradation that Pirelli had tested. So they were stopping every 18 laps. And it was mandated regardless of what compound you were on, and you still had to use 2 different compounds. It was wild. The temperatures in the cars were recording upwards of 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
Let's see what happened. Lance Stroll passed out when he got out of his car. Esteban Ocon got so dehydrated, delirious, he threw up in his helmet on lap 15 and then raced the whole race. It was...
Logan retired.
Logan had to retire because he got so sick, and he was 5 laps from the end. He just couldn't do it anymore. This was the peak of what they should be having them race at. This race, realistically, for all of the issues,
past the peak.
This race shouldn't really happen anyways. There's just a lot of Middle Eastern money, like oil money in F1. But as far as the conditions, they should have called this one. If a race is too wet to race, there can be a race that's too hot, because all it takes is someone to pass out rather than throw up, and 3 people are dead. It's that crazy when you're going 200 plus miles an hour consistently, because this is a fast track.
I mean, the fact that they were propping up their visors going 130 miles an hour to get a little bit of cooling. Yeah, that's all you need to know, right?
George was going 195 down the straight and was putting his hands above his steering wheel so that air would hit his gloves because it was so hot. And you could see him, his hands would catch and he'd almost smack himself. It was...
Yeah, it was gnarly.
You saw a lot of things you don't see, but 2 McLarens on the podium. Haven't seen that in a lot. We've seen it twice now this season.
Man, that car looks good.
Real good,
especially after the weekend that Lando was having, to have him come back and snatch a podium. That was really cool to see, because he was really down on himself for most of the weekend.
Yeah,
which is crazy because he didn't have a bad weekend.
He qualified poorly, didn't do great in the sprint, but he wants great things. He's one of those drivers, and they all are, but especially since Oscar's having such a great second half, he should be right at or just that notch above, because Oscar's a a rookie. And Oscar got his first Formula One win in a sprint race on Saturday. So he was down on himself, but it's good to see them up there. Means really good things for next season.
Yep.
Drummer Duck asks, was the race done at night? Yes, it was a night race. It was just in Qatar in early October, and it was the reports are that it got up to 50 plus degrees Celsius in the cockpit.
That's so unbelievable.
It's 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you're maxing your body out athletically to get that done. It's like
well, and it's like one of those things, like they don't have like reprieve in those cars, right? Like there's always
those cars
G-force.
are meant for air to go away from them, not into
well, it's
them.
not even that. Like they are constantly straining against the car. It's not like in like football where you have like a couple of seconds, put your hands on your hips and like hang out and catch your breath and like cool down and fan yourself or whatever. Like these guys are constantly tensed and like pushing against G-forces and struggling against, steering. Like it's a rough one, man.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
rough. So
can you imagine it being that hot and pulling 6 Gs through a corner?
No, hell no.
Ugh.
Like even like the 1.5 Gs they pull on straights.
Yeah, the amount of strain on your body at normal temperatures is insane in these cars. And then you add in extreme heat on top of it. No. The good news for Formula One is this race is happening 6 weeks later next year. So it should be back to a normal type race.
They have that's just what races, they have to do. Right, it just has to be either an early race in the season or a late race. Because if I remember last year, that was the opener, right? Was it 2 years ago?
No,
I don't remember.
Because
Australia was one of them, and then I thought Qatar was the other.
So Bahrain's pretty much always
Bahrain's first, right. And they usually close
and
out
then
with
Saudi Arabia is next.
They usually close like last season. They closed out with Qatar or one of the last ones. They kind of moved that one around, but they realize they now know you can't have it this early.
Looks like they've usually had it in November, which is where it should be.
Well, and like Drummer Duck points out, he hopes Vegas isn't like that, but luckily, Vegas is in how many weeks?
Like
that's the week before
6
Thanksgiving,
weeks, and it's at 11 p.m.
So usually Vegas cools off pretty nice.
This time of year,
especially
it'll be real nice.
Well, the average high in Vegas in November just for the whole month is 70 degrees. So that's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, that won't be a problem. But yeah, anyway, there was definitely some entertaining stuff. It was just like halfway through the race, all of the radio and everything on the radio was talking about how miserable it was. It was like, I just hope somebody doesn't pass out going 200 miles an hour into a corner.
Seriously.
And die.
Okay, so
what it was.
Do you think Lewis Hamilton was a little thankful that he got out in lap 1?
No,
absolutely not.
I know he wasn't.
Not even a little bit.
No, but still.
Especially since he walked across a live track to get back to the pit.
Yeah.
He got himself a hefty fine.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it. But, I mean...
It's his fault.
It was his fault.
And he went and he apologized to George afterward, like after the race. The radio comms were pretty great.
He's a classy dude.
Yeah. When he said when he saw the replay, he was like, yeah. I can't expect him to see me coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. Also, George had like, as much as I want to blame George for everything that goes wrong always, George literally had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and he didn't know he had to go somewhere.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
also correct.
Even if he'd seen him in his mirrors, he wouldn't have been able to get out of the way unless you torpedo Max.
That knocked George to what, 12th before he got back on the track because he got spun out. Do you think George wins this race if that doesn't happen?
No.
Why? Because he got second, or no, he got fourth.
He got fourth.
Yeah, so
you don't think he can make up 5 seconds from being spun out, or 8 seconds or whatever it was?
He was 34 seconds behind Lando.
Yeah, and it changed his strategy so much that they had to do it all on the fly at that point.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think
He
the car
did
was
have a
fast
great
enough.
race.
He had a
Yeah,
great
great
race.
race.
Absolutely. He probably should have gotten driver of the day. But yeah, he wasn't
absolutely should have.
he wasn't going to beat he wasn't going to beat Max, and those McLarens are stupid fast, especially when they're stacked on each other.
I think fourth was the best he could have done on Sunday, regardless.
It's just hard to say because, like, you know, going from 12th to 4th in a race after being spun out, like, he had one more pit stop than everyone, right? Because he had to repair the front wing,
but
like,
it was also a pit during the safety car, so it's
last
a shorter pit.
Yeah,
and it was lap 1, so nobody else was pitting then. So it was like, yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from with it. Those other cars, I mean, those McLarens are next level right now.
And they got more stuff coming for next weekend.
It's arguably a better car right now than the Red Bull in a lot of ways, other than Max Verstappen's driving the Red Bull.
Yeah.
It's insane the progress that McLaren has made.
the progress is unbelievable.
Well, and they now have the fastest pit crew ever. 1.8 seconds.
Oh my
pit time.
goodness. Yeah.
that was in practice. Yeah,
Nope, that was
No,
in the
it was
race.
in the race.
That was his first pit
it
stop.
was in the race. Oh
Yeah.
Jesus! I thought they said that was in FP1.
Nope, that was in the race. So it was the fastest pit stop since they moved to these 18-inch tires, these huge tires.
Gotcha.
Crazy. So we got a bye week, a week off, if you will, as everybody travels back across the pond to the U.S., just in time for the United States Grand Prix Circuit of the Americas in Austin. So we'll dig into that one next week. But good stuff. Max became world champion again. No surprise there. Red Bull takes the Constructors' Championship. Nothing crazy there. Just kind of expected at this point.
Tell you what, though, I mean, McLaren was going to start shooting up. They're going to start shooting up that Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, I think they can realistically finish, I think, third if they keep getting podiums. But next year they're going to be a top 3 team and look like the McLaren of old when Lewis was there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of points to make up for sure.
The first 8 races were miserable for them.
Yeah. And I tell you what, the Aston Martin's fallen off too.
Yeah, it's been a weird year.
Yeah.
In that middle ground. But Mercedes has been consistently good and not great. The Ferrari has been consistently not quite as good as the Mercedes. And the Red Bull's just being Red Bull. So that's F1.
There it is. Boom. Nailed it.
Boom. Nailed it. All right.
Mostly clean too, except for one thing that Jamie said.
What did I say?
You said the T word. You called Max Verstappen a twat.
Is that not allowed on? I think that's.
I would
allowed.
doubt it.
I think that's allowed.
This isn't British radio, Jamie. This is American radio.
Yeah, in 2023, we're very progressive. All right.
It's Portland, Oregon. It's not that progressive in the way you mean.
It's fair. Baseball playoffs
is considered strong language.
Yeah, they'll just slap on the wrist. I'll make sure to not use it anymore. And now you've used it more than I have. So,
well, I was doing it to illustrate a point.
Yeah, it's like singing it in the song, Jamie. Okay, it's not the same.
baseball playoffs. We're in the middle of them. We're now in the divisional round. I have hardly watched any of this, which is
I haven't watched any of it, so we could probably just move on. I have no idea what's happened.
So, I mean, I'll just run through quickly the results. The Astros are up 2-1 on the Twins. The Rangers are up 2-0 on the Orioles. The Phillies and Braves are tied 1-1. The Diamondbacks lead the Dodgers 2-0. Surprise there. And that's those series.
Is it a surprise? It's the Dodgers.
No, it's the Dodgers. They are destined to choke in the playoffs.
Destined to choke.
Unless it's an asterisk season in 2020.
Yeah. COVID year doesn't count.
Okay, that's baseball. It's really disappointing for me because, like, I love baseball. I just have not. I mean, again, we've talked about it. My team sucks, so it's really easy to not get into it this year. But it's disappointing. Hockey is back today.
Today, right now.
Yep, right now. The Lightning beat the Predators in the first game of the season. The Blackhawks, with their new golden boy, Connor Bedard, won 4-2 against the Penguins. Connor Bedard had a pretty good game, 1 assist, so he's on the board with his first point in his NHL career. And the Kraken just tipped against the Golden Knights.
Go Kraken.
So hockey's back.
I'm really excited. One of my favorite artists in Portland. He's like a tattoo artist / like just an artist now. He designed a poster for the Kraken. Like they did a collaboration, and it's sick. Kyler Martz is his name. But anyways, who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Kraken.
No, they're not. It's the Avs. The Avs loaned the Stanley Cup to the Golden Knights for a year. They're going to take it back.
It's either the Kraken or the Stars.
What are the odds? NHL Stanley Cup odds.
While you're looking that up, Drummer Duck did point out that the Rangers have swept the Orioles. The game is over.
See, now I just really don't give a poop about the MLB playoffs.
Man, I saw your brain working on that one.
I literally said last week that I want the Orioles to win it all, and now they're out. All right.
Go Braves.
The favorites to win the Stanley Cup are the Carolina Hurricanes, followed by the Toronto Maple Leafs, then the New Jersey Devils. Wow. Edmonton Oilers at +1,000, and the Avs are at +1,000. Then you got the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's see how far we have to go down to find the Seattle Kraken. It's a long ways. The Seattle Kraken are 16th at +3,500.
Sweet. Doesn't matter. They weren't even supposed to make the playoffs last year. Look what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So eat it.
Taking the Avs.
The one I'm seeing is the Avs are the favorite at 850 +850. Then it's the Hurricanes +900. Then Oilers +1,000. New Jersey +11. Toronto +11.
Which sports book were you looking at?
It looks to be a composite ranking.
Oh yeah, this one has I see what you're looking at now.
Yep.
I like that one.
I'm sure you do.
A good one.
Kraken +5,000, baby. Put it on now. How great would it be if they won, dude? And I'm calling it right now.
It would be pretty incredible since you know so much about hockey.
I do.
We're going to spend 0.2 seconds talking about the NFL because the Broncos suck. And now we're going to move on to the best sport in the world, which is college football.
Yeah, baby. It's college football time. We should probably do something weird and do another intro.
Probably.
I don't think I can put in the music later, but I think we need to do like another "What's up, everybody" kind of thing. So, viewer, buckle in because we're doing weird stuff right now. All right,
so we can be on the radio in case you join late.
On the radio,
we're going to be on the radio in Portland with our college football segment, which is why we're talking weird today.
So Drummer Duck, hold on.
This is going to be super awkward. Man.
It's going to be awkward, but this is to grow the podcast, so everybody here right now can appreciate what's about to happen. But Drummer Duck does send in the AL East had the winningest season for a 5-team division in MLB history. The two teams that didn't make the postseason are worth $12 billion. The division went 0-7 in the postseason. Truly the Big Ten of baseball.
Ouch.
That is
yikes.
Rough. That is
big yikes.
Rough.
Big yikes. I'm going to crack open my NA beer because we're not going to do beer of the week.
Yep,
But I want to have it. This is Athletic Brewing Co., by the way. Run
I love
wild,
Athletic.
IPA.
I love
Athletic.
Athletic's so good.
It is
Their
very good.
hazy's
All right.
probably my favorite.
Yeah, I had some of those this weekend during the Beer Pong World Cup, which I am the champion of, by the way.
I think that
Because
Good
you
for
were
you.
sober. It's cheating.
Dude,
no.
if you see me play
'cause
drunk, you know it's not cheating.
Winnings. I've won sober as an alternate, so his win counts, my win counts.
I think neither of your wins
I play
count.
better drunk, so
Yeah, he's out of his college fighting form anyways.
That's
so
fair. That's fair.
it was funny though, because like both my partner and I were like it just feels like just slightly off, and like we just couldn't crush anybody like we used to be able to. But now we won it all. I got on fire. I got on fire twice in one game. It was great, guys. It was great. Epic win. So, anyways, World Cup champion over here. Jamie, hit us with that next intro.
Do you want some silence first? Like, set the mood? All right. All right. This is so awkward, man. I don't
Just
even
fucking
know
do
how to
it.
do this.
Just do it.
All right. What is up, everybody?
What is good, y'all?
I'm Jamie Friedlander. That's Eli Johnson.
That's me.
And the man behind the glass that you may hear speak up every once in a while is super producer Cameron.
Say hi, Cameron.
what is going on?
I was expecting a hi, Cameron. I'm a
Hi,
little
Cameron.
disappointed.
Dude, I
in
thought
you
about
right
it. I thought about it. But I was like, are we big time?
I'm a little
You know?
disappointed in you right now.
That's all right. That's right. We are going to talk about the week that was in college football last week. We're going to focus on the Pac-12 as we normally do. We'll also talk about some of the other bigger games, and then we will preview this upcoming week, obviously for us, highlighting the Oregon-Washington game coming up on Saturday. But let's go back to last week because there was some craziness going on in the Pac-12. I want to take some credit because I went 4-0 last week, and Eli didn't. So I'm gonna take some credit here.
Well done.
One.
Well done.
Thanks. The week started
3-1.
I guess.
Don't act like I messed up. All right. Don't look.
Yeah.
Don't act like I was.
You did
I,
mess
like
up. I did better than you.
you did better than me by one.
The Pac-12 slate started later in the day on Saturday, since we didn't have our weird 10 a.m. kickoffs that Colorado has been so prone to this year. But Washington State at UCLA, Washington State definitely came back down to earth on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all knew that this game was going to come at some point, right? Like they came out and they just laid an egg, right? And Cam Ward didn't look nearly like the Cam Ward that we've seen all the rest of the season. And UCLA just ran the ball all over this Washington State defense. So I'm not surprised by this game at all. It's a Chip Kelly team. You can never count them out. But yeah, I think this is the game that you saw that they finally came back to earth.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from that UCLA defense because I think it is legit. Like, I don't want to just say that Washington State laid an egg in this one because I think this is one of the best defenses that we've seen Chip Kelly have at any point in his college coaching career. They are playing incredible football on the defensive side of the ball for UCLA. So much so that I think if we're talking about UCLA having not a true freshman quarterback starting there, they would be right up there at the top of the conference. If Dylan Gabriel had stayed at UCLA when he first transferred there, and he was the quarterback right now, we'd be talking about UCLA like we talk about Oregon, Washington, USC, because that defense is stout. And so while Washington State probably had their worst game offensively, I think we have to credit a lot of that to the UCLA defense.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, right? Like obviously this UCLA defense is nasty, right? We saw them hold UCLA or Utah, hold Utah to 7 points offensively, and obviously Utah has been a little bit down on offense with Cam Rising out, but that's still impressive, right? It's still impressive. I mean, outside of that, the highest scoring team against them has been 13 points. Well, this Washington State game, 17 points. And like, there's some good offensive teams. Coastal Carolina is a good offensive team. San Diego State, good offensive team.
I mean, Washington State was averaging 45-ish points a game. I mean,
Yeah. No, this defense is legit. So it's a little bit of both, right? Because Cam Ward looked bad. Right. He looked like he did last year, looked like he went back to kind of his old throwing motion, just out of instinct, maybe. But, you know, but UCLA looked great. Like that defense looked great. So I think it's a little bit of both. But yeah, I don't want to take anything away from UCLA's D. But yeah.
Yep. Next up in the Pac-12 slate, we had Colorado at Arizona State. Colorado. This is going to sound weird because obviously they got absolutely whacked by Oregon, but this was Colorado's worst game. And by that, I mean,
completely agree.
They just looked bad. In the Oregon game, Oregon just looked really, really good.
Like the Oregon game, Oregon was just clearly better, right? Yeah. Like pretty much every facet of the game.
Right. They were just outmanned at basically every position.
Yeah. This game, it's like one of those games where it's like kind of like we talked about last week, and if somebody's tuning in, they didn't tune in last week, kind of these yellow flags of like, ooh, like there's like more so than the Oregon like beat down, this is the one where I'm like, ooh, that's like, obviously it's not red flag, don't panic. Like Colorado still has the skill positions. They still have a pretty decent defense. They got some guys coming back soon. Like it's not panic mode, but you gotta look at this and go, ooh, something wasn't clicking here that needs to change in order to be successful for the rest of the season.
I disagree a little. I get where you're coming from because the equivalent, like if we're looking at the Oregon equivalent to this, it was the Texas Tech game.
Yeah.
Right, which was a yellow flag moment for Oregon, as we talked about. I think the difference here with this Colorado team is you can't look at Colorado through the same lens that you look at Oregon, because you've got a team that was 1-11 last year. The way I'm looking at this Colorado team, a win's a win, right? Dion was angry. He was pissed off on Saturday after the game, rightfully so. They looked terrible, but they still won. A win's a win. You got to look at it that like we know what the offensive and defensive lines are for this team, right? These games are going to happen. Am I shocked that Colorado didn't blow out Arizona State in 110-degree heat in the desert? No, I'm not surprised about that at all. The fact that they won and the way they won is impressive for a team that is in the situation that Colorado's in. So
yeah, I'm not trying to take it away.
I get
right?
what
like,
you're saying.
Like it's one of those things where outside of late game heroics, this team is having another season, right? Like a totally different season with Colorado State late game heroics, with this late game heroics, and it's a testament to them being able to fight up until the very end of the game. But it's like we said, it's a small yellow flag. It's like I said, nothing to worry about necessarily. It's one of those things. Is like they have things they need to fix clearly, and I was saying this at the beginning of the season that like they're not going to be complete. Things are bad are going to happen, and that's just what it is, right? But the yellow flag just means, hey, you need to fix these things before you can have this successful season that you could have.
Yeah, I mean here's the reality for Colorado is if Shedeur Sanders isn't your quarterback, you're probably 1-5.
100% agree with that. Shedeur Sanders has carried this team. Even though I think Travis Hunter is the best player on the Colorado squad by like quite a bit.
You like can't do that much as a corner and a wide receiver.
Exactly. The quarterback is more important but like, yeah. So I think Travis Hunter is the best just pure football player on that squad. But without Shedeur Sanders, these guys are totally screwed. Yep. They're at the bottom of the pack right now, especially with that offensive defensive line. Oof. But like I said, like I'm not like panicking about Colorado. I think they'll still have they're ahead of schedule. Let's be real here. Colorado is ahead of schedule. They should not be 4-2 right now.
Absolutely not. And they're headed into a game this week against Stanford, which Stanford's the worst team in the conference by a country mile. But then you're getting into your rough stretch, which everybody in the Pac-12 seems to have a bad back half of the schedule somehow. I don't know how that works.
Every schedule is hard at the end of the season.
Every single unbelievable. One. It's unreal, the Pac-12 this year. So anyway, Colorado escapes with a win, ends that 2-game skid. Really, if you're looking at it from the other lens, right, they could be 1-5. Colorado's been in every game this year except for one.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams that aren't in games at Autzen Stadium. So that's not really one to hang your hat about, right?
No.
Next up, we had the 2 Pac-12 After Dark games, one of which was a runaway win for Oregon State. No real surprise there. I thought Cal would probably do a little more defensively than they did against Oregon State.
Yeah, the weird thing about this game was this is the best Cal's offense has looked against a very stout Oregon State defense.
Yeah,
Oregon State gave up 40 points. And that's not going to happen a ton on this defense. That's a really stout defense. But so this is the first time I've seen Cal's offense look good. They looked good, and then
they have a new QB in there, Fernando Mendoza, and he looked good.
Yeah, he looks legit. This is the second or the two of the teams had new quarterbacks in, and both of those guys looked legit.
Yep.
We'll talk about the next one later, but
yep. So Oregon State is a mixed bag this year. It's really tough to judge this team right now because one week it looks like they have one of the best defenses in the conference, and then the next they're laying an absolute egg against what was an anemic Cal offense.
Yeah. DJ has been wildly inconsistent through the year, them being 5-1 so far is a little bit of a shock considering how inconsistent they've been.
Yep, especially on offense.
Yeah, the potential of this team is great. It's really, really high up there with not the top teams in the pack, but that second tier of teams in the pack. Their potential is up there. They just can't keep a rhythm going. It seems like they haven't found their identity necessarily. I don't want to say they haven't found an identity because they have a pretty clear identity of just running the shit out of the ball. Did it. Just running the ball. But it's, DJ looked great this week and they threw it a lot and he had 5 touchdowns. If they can do that every week with him,
if DJ could go 19 for 25 for 275 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's a recipe for bad news Bears for the rest of the conference.
Exactly.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. To be determined with Oregon State still. We're going to do some mid-season grades next week once every team in the conference has played at least 6 games. This is going to be one of the harder teams to grade because it's been so up and down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is weird to say. Like you said, they're 5-1, so obviously it's a good grade.
And they're a really well-coached team generally.
Yeah.
This is why it's so weird.
It's so weird that the problem is they're being inconsistent. That's what's weird. Surprising game of the week, maybe in the country. That's not true because there were some crazy upsets. We'll get into those. But in the Pac-12, definitely the surprising game of the week was Arizona at USC. And if you tuned into this game early in the second quarter, you probably did a triple take at your television. Because I know I did.
I did the same. And I tell you what, this Fafita kid.
Noah Fafita.
And don't get me wrong. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
Noah Fafita looked good. USC's defense is bad. We
Not
thought
like
they were going to be improved. Like our preview said that they were going to be improved. They did not improve.
they might be worse.
I don't know about worse.
I don't know, man. They're
Well,
pretty
they
bad.
might be because they can't get the turnovers that they did last year.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They're bad, man. Grinch has got to be fired after this year. His seat has got to be hot.
As soon as they lose a game because of the defense, which might happen on Saturday, and we'll get to that, he's got to, at minimum, they have to take his play calling away.
Well,
I
it's
don't
not. It's
know.
not even the play calling. The play calling's fine I mean, it's not fine. It's still bad. But just the fundamentals of this team are just not there.
Number of missed tackles that they have on a
Unbelievable.
week in, week out. Like, it's not like, oh, Colorado, they had a bad day in Boulder, right?
Yeah.
It's week in, week out. This is a story.
Yeah. And I mean, they're the number 9 team in the country, and they're just like they can't stop anyone. They haven't
It's
stopped anyone this year.
it's a stop. What does Alex Grinch have on Lincoln Riley?
Because
Because this was the
There's some
case in
dirt.
Oklahoma too.
yeah,
Like, this is not new.
Oklahoma's defenses were awful.
This has been the case since Lincoln Riley has been a head coach. Must have some dirt.
This is another team. If they didn't have Caleb Williams, they might be 1-5 right now. Like, maybe not that.
Probably 2.
Yeah, like
No,
they
3. I mean, they probably beat San Jose State, Nevada, and Stanford.
Yeah.
Other than that, they lose that Arizona State game that they pulled away late. They definitely lose in Boulder.
and they lose this
And
Arizona
they
game
definitely lose that Arizona game.
without
Caleb
Caleb Williams.
They'd be 3-3.
Yeah, man,
Maybe 4-2.
maybe 4-2. But this defense cannot stop anyone. It's pretty
It's unreal.
unbelievable.
Unreal. All right. Elsewhere in the country, we had Oklahoma and Texas Red River rivalry last time in the Big 12 with this game before they moved to the SEC next year. This game lived up to anything you could possibly hype it up to be.
Unbelievable.
If you don't like college football, after watching this game, I don't know how to help you.
You're at that point. It's just fair to say you're not a college football person, and that's okay. You don't have to be. You should be, but you don't have to be. But if you watch this game and go, not for me, you're just not into college football.
And I can't relate to you
I
because
can't relate to you at all.
This game was everything that college football is and should be.
And of course, the 1 year I'm giving Texas credit. The 1 year I am on the Texas is back, baby. The 1 year. I mean, I still think they win the Big 12, but neither here.
They may finish 12-1 with a Big 12 championship over a 12-1 Oklahoma team. That's where these two teams are in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's not like Quinn Ewers had a bad day. Like, both teams played really good football. Quinn Ewers was 31 of 37 with a touchdown. The unfortunate thing is two of those six incompletions were picks.
Yeah,
which is what changed the course of this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything you wanted out of that game. Oklahoma comes out on top, 34-30, with a touchdown with under a minute to play. Just crazy game.
It's everything you want out of college football.
Everything you want. You mentioned that you're back on the Texas hype train. I forever have been a Notre Dame hater.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first year that I was like, Notre Dame is actually legit. And here we are
2 weeks later.
6 weeks into the season, and Notre Dame has as many L's in that column as Colorado.
Much harder schedule. Well, maybe not, actually. Yeah. Harder schedule for sure. But
Hey, win's a win, loss is a loss.
It doesn't matter. There's
much harder schedule.
Here's the thing. Both of them are eliminated from the playoff. That's all that matters here. Both of them are eliminated from the playoff. it's I don't get it, man. This team, it's another one of those teams where you're like, man, you should be. And here's the thing: I want to credit Louisville. They looked ready.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right, they look good. I mean, they're 6-0. You know, like they looked good, and they looked like a team ready to break out. I also saw something today. I don't know if you saw this, and I haven't fact checked this at all yet. But the top 3 teams in the ACC do not play each other.
That is true.
That is crazy to me. That scheduling is crazy to me.
Although I don't think anybody expected Louisville to be one of those top 3 teams. So that's
it's just like a wild thing to think about.
It
that
is
like
crazy.
The top 3 teams are just like, yeah, no, for somehow none of us play each other. It's cool. It'll lead for a really great end of season for the ACC.
It will. Some other notables, like we're not going to talk a whole lot about Georgia and Michigan. They dominated their games. Georgia, this was a get-right game for me, right? I think it's pretty clear that they sleptwalked through the first 5 games, which is nuts. But I'm also still not fully back because this is a one-man show for this Georgia. If they don't have Brock Bowers, this Georgia team is struggling.
A lot of teams like that this year.
Struggling, right? Like it's relative, but like,
yeah,
Brock Bowers is a one-man wrecking ball out there.
He might be the best tight end in college football history.
Definitely this year. It's not even a question.
Oh, I mean, it's not even close this year.
He had 7 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown on Saturday as a tight end. That's insanity.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, I'm in the same road. Like, I am not all the way back in on Georgia. This was a game that was a prove it game of being like, okay, this is the week that we need to hear, or we need to see something. And I think they accomplished that. I still couldn't jump them to 1 in my rankings. I'm just not there yet with them. But yeah, I mean, this was a nice push for them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. They really don't have many tests throughout the rest of the season. You got Ole Miss in what is that, week 10? Tennessee the week after that. Like, that's pretty
a tough
much
stretch.
It.
That's tough. Those 2 games are going to be tough.
It's like tough, but it's nothing like we're seeing in the Pac-12, for example.
Correct.
So, Georgia's going to go undefeated. This doesn't feel like the Georgia teams of the last 2 years yet to me.
Yeah, same.
The flip side of that, to me, I am much higher on Michigan than you are, and I get why you're not, because they haven't played anybody. That being said, they are doing what they're supposed to do against teams that aren't good.
I will credit them for doing what they're supposed to do, for sure. Like you said, you touched on, I'm not back in on Michigan yet. It's going to be really hard for me to continually move them up until we see kind of what they're made of. We've seen that they can win the games they're supposed to win. What do they do in the games that they're tested in? This defense looks stifling, but I mean, pretty anemic offenses they've gone against. Pretty, throughout this whole season, they haven't really faced even a medium offense, really. So like I said, I'm just not all the way there yet. This is the thing about all these rankings that we're doing right now. Like, I'm low on Michigan. It'll work itself out. I mean, when they play that Penn State game, when they play Ohio State, if they win those games, obviously they're going to jump up really hard, right? So I'm not saying, like, in my ranking, I have them, I think it's 6 or something like that, and like probably low in a lot of people's minds. But I just, they look good, but the competition isn't there for me to be like all in. I'm bought in on these guys, when their resume is just kind of trash, But then I realized I'm a total homer with Oregon. But that's okay. This is the Just Two Fans podcast, all right?
Yeah.
We're not the Just Two objective reporters. We're not the Just Two ESPN analysts. We are the Just Two fans, and I will be a homer for Oregon all day. And it also comes down to, like, I've watched Oregon a lot closer than I've watched Michigan. When I'm watching a Michigan game, I'm watching just kind of for fun. I'm not really paying attention to like what is actually happening. So there's that aspect as well. I'm not analyzing a Michigan game like I am an Oregon game. So there's probably part of that too, because I know Oregon's schedule isn't much harder than Michigan's. But yeah, I just not quite there with Michigan yet. Do I think that they can't beat Penn State or Ohio State? No, I think they could fully win, but I just haven't seen it yet.
Fair enough. That is fair enough. Watching Michigan is boring, according to the chat. That is true because they just suffocate everybody. That is like their entire goal in life is to just play boring football and just beat you into oblivion.
It's the Harbaugh way, man.
And
it's the Harbaugh way. Look at what did Stanford do? Stanford played the most boring brand of football I've ever seen in my life, and they won games.
And they won. Yep. Lot of other craziness this week. Maryland held in there tight with Ohio State for 3 quarters. Becoming a trend. It's becoming a trend with this Ohio State team. That's one to watch out for. Just watch out. 2 weeks against Penn State. We will find out what Ohio State is. They did beat Notre Dame, but Penn State has a more potent offense than Notre Dame does. So we'll see what Penn State can do against that Ohio State team. And then
I really like Maryland too. I think they're kind of an underrated team.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
They're really good. Especially like Taulia. Although Taulia Tagovailoa, like he's so good.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised that they hung in there, and I'm not surprised that Ohio State pulled away at the end. I like Maryland as a team. I like Ohio State. They're, I think, my number one this week. So.
Yep. Also in the chat, time to start talking about Zombie Bama. Yeah. That's a dirty word on this show. Has caused some controversy in the past with Bama just sneaking into the playoff because they're Bama. But
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty low on. It's weird to say. When I say I'm low on Alabama, I think they're like just out of the top 10. But like, I haven't seen it from Bama this year. Milroe is not the typical guy we've seen over the last 8 to 10 years out of Alabama. Like, yeah, maybe back in the days of who was our quarterback. I can't remember his name. There was just like 5 or 6 guys in a row. You're just like, yeah, whatever. It's like when Derrick Henry was there, when I can't remember his name. The guy who did like that crazy stiff arm in college. Anyways, when all those like crazy running backs were going through there, it was
Derrick Henry.
No, it was a guy after Derrick Henry, and I just can't think of his name. He kind of fizzled out in the NFL. Played for the Browns for like a season. I
don't remember.
Anyways, I just haven't seen previous Alabama in this team yet.
I haven't either. And they could have lost this game at Texas A&M on Saturday. They definitely did not. I mean, they scored 3 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. The SEC scheduling is an absolute joke. So it's all right in front of Alabama to be a 1-loss.
I can still see them losing another game. I mean, they have a stretch that's like
I could see it.
Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, all 3 of those teams. While I think alone they're not going to beat this Bama team, but in that stretch, one of them could sneak one out. Those are all teams that are sneaky enough to get one on a team like Alabama.
Also, I think Georgia's still significantly better than Alabama.
100%. Yeah.
2-loss Alabama's not making the playoff. I don't think we have to worry about that. Now on to something that Duck fans should not be surprised about at all, which is Mario Cristobal being the absolute worst time management coach maybe in the history of time.
Did anybody else watching this game just like feel the flood of 2018 back in your soul?
I
2018
I had
Stanford just
so
back
many-
in your body.
I had so many mixed emotions watching this because, first of all, I've heard all of the
Trent Richardson was the running back.
Trent. That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank
Trent
you,
Richardson.
Drummer Duck. From Trent.
I've heard all of the Miami chatter on Twitter, and I've seen all of it bragging about stealing Cristobal away from Oregon, and Oregon fans are like, "Careful what you wish for," right? And the amount of "I told you so's" coming out from Duck Twitter this week is pretty incredible. For those that don't know what we're talking about, let's rewind a little bit. Miami played Georgia Tech on Saturday, and they had a 4-point lead, right? Was it a 4-point lead?
Yep.
They had a 4-point lead late in the fourth quarter. So late in the fourth quarter, with Georgia Tech having no timeouts, that all they had to do was take 2 kneel downs to win the game. That's it. That's all I had to do. Snap the ball, take a knee, game is over. Instead, Miami decides to run the ball. In the process of running the ball, they fumbled, and Georgia Tech recovered. Okay, so scary, right? Not too bad, but it's scary. But there's under a minute left, and they have to go 76 yards. Georgia Tech goes 76 yards in 2 plays in 24 seconds and scores a game-winning touchdown.
It's so Mario Cristobal, man.
What is more shocking than the fact that even took place is that is the second time that exact scenario has happened to Mario Cristobal as a head coach. And as Eli alluded to, it was 2018 Stanford, and I was just as flabbergasted then as I was on Saturday.
Unbelievable coaching mistake. And it's not like, here's the thing. If he's like a first-year head coach, sure, you can see that mistake happening. He really wants to solidify the win by getting that first down for some reason, whatever it may be. You can see that mistake happening. It's still a bad mistake, but you can see it happening for a first-year head coach. Like if Dan Lanning did it last year, you're kind of like, okay, don't do that again. But to do it twice in like what, his 7th year as a head coach, 6th year as a head coach, like, bruh, you cannot do that.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I think you fire them on the sideline. If you make it, no, the first time, if you make it to D1 Power 5 college football head coach and you make that big of a blunder, you are fired. I don't care.
Every coach has made a big blunder like that. Every single coach has made a dumb blunder like that.
It's inexcusable.
Oh God, your program would be terrible.
No, my program would be awesome because it wouldn't.
You'd have a new coach every year, Jamie.
that game in 2018 was when I started to doubt Mario Cristobal. Now he kept me around because he could recruit better than any coach in Oregon.
I am so thankful for Mario Cristobal. Let's not get it twisted.
We have sung his praises. All right, I have been a part of that. That is something that should never, ever, ever, ever take place. I get bad play calls, right? I understand a bad timeout. I understand a bad challenge. This makes, I don't even understand how this is allowed to happen. And beyond even the coaches messing this up so bad, how do the players even go ahead? Like, if I'm the quarterback, like, no, we're not.
I'm going to hand this ball off. You're just going to fall down.
I'm just going to trip. Like, I'm going down. Like, there's no way I'm risking this. How is this even possible? The crazier part is Cam McCormick. Is it Cam McCormick?
Cam McCormick is...
Yeah, no, it's not Cam McCormick. Who's the tight end that's played for Mario Cristobal for like 9 years? Because of the injuries at Oregon.
Yeah, it might be Cam McCormick.
Is it Cam McCormick?
Yeah, it is Cam McCormick.
Yeah.
Cam McCormick had to live that twice live with his team doing it.
Oof. Miami fans, strap in.
unreal. Like, you're right. First time's probably a little harsh to fire him. Second time, how do you do that 2 times in your career?
Don't get me wrong. Second time, you're like, hey, bye, bud.
You're going to get the Herm Edwards treatment and get fired on the sideline, or the Lane Kiffin treatment and leave you on the tarmac. Like,
I like that one better.
Not happening.
The tarmac. Oh my God, Lane Kiffin's firing on the tarmac. It was so great.
It's even better that it was USC, just like peak of them crumbling. So good. All right, let's move to this week's slate of games.
You want to go over our top 25 first?
Yeah. Let's go through our top. So
everybody listening can understand where we're coming from here.
So the Just Two Fans top 25. For those who don't know, this is an aggregate result from me, Eli, Chris, who is not on the show today, Chris Burkhart, and Cameron. I want to point out that Eli and I's ballots are significantly different than the aggregate results because Chris and Cameron like to just jack up.
I would like to point out that I do standard deviation against the AP poll for each of us, and not surprisingly, the one member of the actual media was 0.08 standard deviation from the AP poll. It was almost identical.
Oh, Chris.
Don't get too crazy over there, Cameron.
Yeah, I'm not in the media and I'm not one of the hosts.
I was just like, oh, this is I had to double take it because it was like, even though Cameron's was very close to the AP poll, like Cameron doubled Chris's standard deviation from the AP. It was wild. It was wild. I was actually the most deviated this week.
That checks out. I threw mine together last minute. It's been a wild week for me. But
here's the thing. This week was tough.
I
struggled with mine this week just because like a lot of good teams lost to other good teams, and it was really hard to like figure out where to place them, like what is fair, what is right, who do you actually think is good, who do you think is bad, who do you think had a bad game. It's really hard to parse that out, especially when you get down to like the 20s. It is nearly impossible to figure that out.
Well, and the other thing is, like, we've talked about it on this show a lot. Mid-season rankings are totally pointless because all of these teams are going to beat each other up.
Yeah.
And it'll take shape by the end of the year like it always does, and it'll be fine. Just creates drama and intrigue throughout the year because that's why we love college football.
Exactly.
Our rankings for week 7, we have as our top 5, we have Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Florida State, and Oregon. Rounding out the top 10, we've got Oklahoma, Penn State, Washington, Texas, and USC. 11 through 15, we have Alabama, North Carolina, Louisville, Ole Miss, and Oregon State. 16 through 20, Utah, Duke, Tennessee, UCLA, Washington State. And 21 through 25, we have Notre Dame, Kansas, LSU, Wyoming, and Kentucky.
Notably absent Miami from our rankings anyway.
I enjoy the chaos.
Yeah,
and
Cameron.
There was one person who ranked Miami after that.
You may fire the coach, but I'm not
loss.
firing the team yet. I did notice you guys had you both had Air Force at 25. Didn't you?
Air Force having a great season.
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
Thus far.
Air Force. Yeah. Air Force is having a
Air
great
Force looks
season.
good.
They look good.
They have the another tough half of their schedule coming up on the back end.
Yeah.
Their Wyoming game this week is it's going to be must watch.
I'm absolutely tuning into that.
Yep. Huge game.
I had Air. So what happened is I had Air Force at 26 last week, and then I dropped a couple teams out, so I bumped them up a little bit. I mean, they beat the snot out of San Diego State. And San Diego State's not a bad team.
Yep.
And they beat the snot out of them. So
yeah,
I'm aboard the Air Force hype train.
The service academies have it real tough, especially now, right?
Oh yeah,
They
NIL and
can't.
all that.
Well, and they can't do NIL, and they can't get transfers.
Oh, true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you can't get a transfer as a service school because you have to go through basic training and all that stuff. You're starting over, your credits don't transfer. So it's not that they can't, but they're not going to get any transfers.
Yeah, that's wicked.
Yeah, they're at a wild disadvantage. So the fact that Air Force is doing as well as they are, hats off.
Yeah.
So that's our top 25. Anything in there that strikes you or that you're upset about, Eli, as a host of the show? And
Oh, there's lots of things. I mean, nothing crazy. Like, it's hard. Again, it's hard. Like this mid-season ranking stuff is tough to like really suss it out. I would say like no, nothing like I'm like super upset about in the aggregate. I'm not necessarily, obviously, like mine were way different than the AP. I don't like personally like Michigan being as high as it is, not for me. Like Michigan at 1, not for me. You
have them at 6.
I have them at 6. So Michigan at 1, not for me. Don't love that. But I mean, I get it. I get why Georgia at 1 or 2 or wherever some people had them, like, not for me. But it's one of the beauties of college football is it is so subjective on who you like and who you don't.
Yeah.
And so we get to have these dumb debates that last for hours where
and
end with Chris
nothing.
slamming his table and screaming at Jamie, nearly walking off the show.
Because I was insinuating that he was being not smart by just throwing Alabama into the playoff because they're Alabama.
Yeah.
That's Chris's take, and he's not here to defend himself. So I'm sticking to it.
He's taking strays right now, buddy.
That's not exactly what happened, but that's the story I'm going with. So that's our top 25 going into the week. Let's preview our Pac-12 matchups. We're back to a relatively full slate of games this week. It was a light week last week with a lot of buys. We're back to a relatively full slate here. Pac-12 play kicks off this week on Friday at Folsom Field.
We have a full slate this week.
1, 2,
There's nobody
3,
on bye this week.
4, 5, 6, but Notre Dame's playing USC, somebody's on a bye. I don't know who it is. We'll figure it out at some point. It's Arizona or Arizona State. Yep, Arizona State's on a bye. Pac-12 play kicks off on Friday at Folsom Field, where Cameron and I will be as Stanford comes into Boulder to take on Colorado. Colorado is an 11.5-point favorite. All of that feels about right for this one.
I actually like Colorado on this line. I like Colorado to cover here. I think Colorado wants to have a bounce back statement win at home against a pretty bad Stanford team. I'll take that spread for Colorado.
Here's the Dion is so polarizing, but he is so calculated in how he gives his messaging to his team. And so there's a reason that after the 2 losses, Dion in his press conference was not upset in the slightest. However, in this win against Arizona State, he was as mad as I've seen him all season.
Yeah.
And that is because he knew his team underperformed. He also knew this is a week that he can have a bounce back statement game because he's playing Stanford.
Yep.
And I think that is going to happen.
Especially at home. I like Colorado on the line.
At home, it's going to be cold. It's a night game. The students are going to be rowdy. It's family weekend. It's a sellout like they're all going to be this year. Colorado, big in this one. I agree with you. Also, Travis Hunter may be back at least on the defensive side of the ball. So that's all you need there.
Yep.
Saturday slate in the Pac-12. The first game that kicks off is Cal at Utah. Utah is a 13.5-point favorite in this one. I'm taking Cal on the spread. I think Utah will win the game.
I agree. I fully agree with that. I mean, I got no problems with that at all. It sounds about right. I think the spread could be right around there. I'm thinking more 10, but because Utah's offense hasn't been great recently. They really fell off. So I'm gonna go Utah by like 10.
Yeah, unless Cam Rising somehow is back.
If Cam Rising is back, it's a whole different game. We all know it.
we just don't know if or when he's coming back.
Yeah. There was some news that like in the Rose Bowl last year, their bowl game last year, he tore ligaments, so he may.
Oh, it was
not be back for a while.
It wasn't a ACL injury. It was he blew his knee out. He tore his ACL and MCL.
So he may not come back this year.
He may not, and legitimately so, because that game was 9 months ago now.
Really sad for Utah fans because this was a good year for them if he's back. But
he could medical
just take his eighth year in college football.
Hey man, Cam McCormick's still playing. Witnessed two of the biggest coaching blunders in the history of time.
Stetson Bennett was like 27 when he graduated.
Yeah, nothing wrong with being a 30-year-old college quarterback.
Nothing.
Especially in the NIL age, they just all got pickup trucks at Utah, so
wild.
He'll just drive his Ram.
Wild.
I'm going to skip the next game because we're going to talk about that one last. We're going to move straight to the Arizona at Washington State game. I don't know how to pick this one all of a sudden. Because
I'm kind of going the same with like my Colorado thing. You have a chance to have a bounce back win at home. I'm going to take. I don't know about the line. The line is difficult. It's Washington State's an 8-point favorite here. The line is tough, but I'm going to take Washington State to win this game because they're at home and bouncing back. And it's a significantly worse defense that they're facing.
That is true. The defense piece of the puzzle is absolutely true. However, Arizona did do a good job containing Caleb Williams. This one's tough for me. I think this one's going to be a tight game. And in tight games, I am pretty much always going to pick the home team. So I am also going to pick Washington State, but I'm going to take Arizona on the spread. I think this is going to be a field goal type game. Arizona is really coming into its own. They found something with Fifita at quarterback. It's going to be a good one. And unfortunately, nobody's going to be able to watch it because it's on the Pac-12 network. What a joke. I have some certain things to say right now, and I'm not going to.
We're not going to. We're keeping it clean.
Except for Eli.
Except for Eli one time. It's going to be edited out.
At prime time slot on NBC, we have USC going to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. It's a USC team that has struggled the last 3 weeks against the likes of Arizona State, Colorado, and Arizona. And now they're going to play a Notre Dame team that is better than all three of those.
I have Notre Dame in this. I have big concerns with USC. We kind of talked about them. USC has not proven to me that they are ready to compete on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Caleb Williams is the best player in the country, and it's not that close. Maybe Brock Bowers is second. But Caleb Williams is unbelievable under center. Like, he is unreal. And without, like we said, without him, this team might have 4 wins, and we're probably being generous with that, with how bad this defense is. I think Sam Hartman's going to be mad from his loss. I think he's going to come out firing, and against this defense, it's a good time to come out firing. So I just don't think USC's defense is going to be able to slow down Notre Dame. And so it's going to be, although here's the thing, it's going to be a shootout. And who are you going to take in a shootout? Hartman or Williams, right? That's tough because I want to take Williams.
But it is that USC defense.
It's like this is matchup heaven for college football fans, right? This is going to be this could be 52-51 at the end of the game. It really could be. The Notre Dame is -3 for the line, and I think that's a good line.
Notre Dame -3 basically means this. If this is on a neutral site, it's a even spread. It's a wash.
Yeah. But I'm going to take Notre Dame here.
I am also taking Notre Dame here, and I'm taking Notre Dame on the spread as well. That USC defense is not just bad, it's very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is hard for me to put into words how bad that USC if you have Caleb Williams on your team, you should not be anywhere near Colorado, Arizona State, and Arizona. As much as I like Colorado and love them, and I grew up in Boulder and I love CU, that Colorado team right now should not be even on the field with Caleb Williams if you have a halfway competent defense.
Yep. Yeah.
This USC team, if I'm a USC fan, I'm looking at the rest of this schedule, and you will be lucky to get out of this stretch. Unless your defense somehow shows something they haven't shown us yet, you will be lucky to get through this next stretch of games with only 2 losses.
Yeah. I mean, and if you do, it's going to be because of Caleb Williams. Like, that's it.
100,000%.
Caleb Williams, here's the thing. Caleb Williams now has to go out and win every game. He can't play well. He can't play good. He has to go out and win every game solely on him and Brennan Rice. Those two have all of the weight of these if this team's going to win.
It's a wide receiving core, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but Brennan Rice is like the number 1 guy. Like
Taj Washington actually is their leading receiver technically, but yeah. it's Taj Washington, Brennan Rice, Mario Williams. Those guys and Caleb Williams, that's it. That's the whole team.
Yep. So they have to go out and win the game. You can't rely on a defense. You can't rely on even your offensive line, or you just got to go win.
Just make it or break it time for the USC defense.
Yep.
If you're going to show up, this is when you have to show up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't have a true Pac-12 after dark game this week, which is astonishing.
It is.
The latest kickoff we have is UCLA at Oregon State. Oregon State's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to be fully honest with you. I have no idea what to pick in this game.
I am 100% with you on that one. I have no clue. It depends on what Oregon State team comes out. It fully depends on what Oregon State team comes out. I mean, if they play like they did against Cal, I'm taking Oregon State. If they play like they did against Washington State, I'm taking UCLA. This is a coin flip game. You know what we do with coin flips here on the Just Two Fans podcast.
You pick the home team.
You pick the home team. So I'm going Oregon State. I'm not in love with the spread at -3.5 though. It's gonna be a tight game. I think regardless, it could be a tight game.
This game.
Actually, I could see it going literally anywhere. I could see this being a blowout for Oregon State. I could see it being a close game for Oregon State or UCLA, and I could see UCLA blowing out Oregon State. I just don't know, man.
It's literally any outcome. To me, this entire game, which DJ shows up, that's the whole. That's it.
That's the game.
Right? UCLA, we know you have Dante Moore. You're not relying on your quarterback like some of these other teams in the conference are. You're relying on your defense. Which DJ Uiagalelei shows up on Saturday will determine the outcome of this game. Is it the DJ that lit up Cal last Saturday, or is it the DJ that struggled to move the ball against San Diego State? That's what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. I'm taking the home team. It's going to be Rainey and Corvallis. That's in favor of Oregon State. I'll take the Beavs, but my confidence meter is low.
Yeah, I mean, if it's raining and it's going to be run game versus run game, I'm taking the Beavs all day long.
I don't know. UCLA is a pretty wicked.
They have a pretty good run game,
too.
but Oregon State has maybe the best run blocking in the country, alongside Damian Martinez.
That's going to be a brick wall against a brick wall because UCLA's run defense is also ridiculous, as we saw against Utah, who also has a good run game. So watch this game.
That's a watch.
I don't care
it's
what
a
you're
watch.
doing. Watch this one, because it's going to be wild. Like you said, any outcome. In the realm of low spreads, the game of the week in the Pac-12, maybe the game of the year, we have Oregon at Washington coming up. Rivalry game, obviously. As a Duck fan, I've been texting Eli for 2 weeks, telling him how nervous I am about this game. As we get closer, that's not getting any better.
Nope. This is the game that I predicted in the preseason that Oregon would drop. Going into Husky Stadium is always a tough place to play with the atmosphere that's going to be there with top 10 matchup. This scares the stuff anatomy.
Nice catch.
Thank you. This scares the stuff anatomy, man. But it's I mean, Washington at home is going to be a tough out. Can Oregon win this game? Yeah. Can Oregon win this game by a lot? Yeah, they could. I mean, if they dominate the line of scrimmage, like they can, right? Because Washington's offensive line is not great. Like, they're not bad by any stretch, but like, let's be real, Michael Penix is the guy here, right? If you can get in his face and get him down and contain him, you can hurt this Washington offense. It's just, for me, it's playing at Husky Stadium in a top 10 matchup. That place is going to be brutal. I think the Huskies take this one. I think Oregon's the better team still.
I can't disagree with any of your logic, other than Husky Stadium being a scary place to play of late, because Oregon has absolutely owned that building.
Different kinds of teams.
This is different. It's different. I understand those Washington teams in the last 2 decades have been garbage. Okay, so I get it.
Since they got rid of the track too, it's been.
I get it. I get it. I understand. I have said all year, and it has proven out, that Oregon is the most complete team in this conference. They will beat you running the ball. They will beat you passing the ball. They will beat you if you're trying to run the ball, and they will beat you if you're trying to pass the ball. There's just no real glaring weak spot on this team. There are 2 teams in the country that are in the top 10 in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Do you want to care to guess what those 2 teams are?
Oregon,
and Georgia.
And Georgia. Gotcha.
This Oregon team is built like Dan Lanning's teams that he coached in the South. He has taken the playbook from Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. Now, am I saying Oregon's at the level of those teams right now? Time will tell. The talent isn't quite at that level yet across the board. Not quite as many 5-stars or anything. But this team is built to beat you no matter what you try to do. And Dan Lanning has said it all year. We're playing ourselves every week.
Yeah,
doesn't matter who we're playing.
The buy-in is there.
If Oregon plays Oregon ball, it's just hard for me to see them dropping a game. If this game's in Autzen, I am much more confident in what I'm saying.
I have Oregon by maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns, in Autzen.
Husky Stadium's going to be tough. Bo Nix is the most seasoned quarterback in college football right now. He has the most starts in college football. If there's somebody that can handle the atmosphere that's going to be Husky Stadium, it's Bo Nix. I'm taking the Ducks in this. I think it may be the Ducks by a couple scores. I'm not going to pick it that way. I don't see a Washington blowout. I just don't see it. The Oregon defense has not shown me enough to be worried about. The Texas Tech game was.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be blowout either. I want to go on the record. I know you're not telling me that I'm saying that, I know, but
right.
I'm going to go on the record. I think this will be a very close game.
I am probably going to lose years of my life during this 3.5 hour, 4 hour stretch. Not probably. It's absolutely happening. If I don't actually die watching it.
God. I just realized I'm getting a tattoo during this game. I'm going to be watching on my phone.
That was a mistake.
I didn't even realize it's a bad move. It's a bad move, boys.
That is a bad move.
I could be in pain 2 ways.
Or you could be elated 1 way.
True. Or elated 2 ways. It's a beautiful tattoo, you know?
It's this Oregon team's just different this year. This is not the Oregon team that lost to Washington last year. This is not the Oregon team that gave up all those yards to Michael Penix Jr. last year. It's not that team. I believe in what Dan Lanning's doing. I think the team believes in what Dan Lanning's doing. And I think Bo Nix, being as seasoned as he is, can weather the storm that is Husky Stadium. And I'm taking the Ducks on Saturday.
I love it. Here's the thing. My mind is telling me to pick the Huskies here. My heart is all Ducks. In our pickup, I'm picking the Ducks.
I'm never going to question your heart when it comes to Oregon football.
Let's not get it twisted, kids.
But
it kind of goes along the same logic of, like, I think it's going to be a close game, and close games go to the home team. You know?
Trust me. I'm the one that's been saying that all year.
Yeah.
The close game last year in this matchup went to the away team. Right. And obviously that philosophy does not play out all the time by any stretch of the imagination. It's just when you're picking this stuff. Washington has question marks, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think Oregon is going to expose those more than any. They haven't played anybody that can do that. And the one team they did was Arizona, and they almost lost.
True. It's very true.
So Oregon's better than any team they've played. They haven't seen a team like Oregon that is complete. It's going to be an all-timer. This game is going to be. I think it will be an instant classic. I know a few Husky fans, and they are claiming that they are very confident going into Saturday, and that makes me even more excited because not very often can they be confident, and the few times they have been able to be, they've been disappointed. So
yeah,
I'm picking Oregon, but woo,
gonna be a toughie.
It's gonna be a toughie. In the rest of college football, week 7, not a lot going on. Pac-12 kind of owns the day on Saturday.
Very much so.
Miami at North Carolina is probably the next best matchup in there.
Whatever.
And Miami shouldn't even have a head coach right now, so I'm taking North Carolina in that. Missouri at Kentucky. I think that's a pretty good SEC game. If you're talking about the middle tier of the SEC.
It'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be a fun game.
But other than that,
can I tell you my best bet? My best bet of the weekend is Kansas, Oklahoma State. If you're not taking Kansas to get against that line, I don't know what you're doing.
What is the line?
Kansas at Oklahoma State. Kansas by 3.
Oh, hammer that one.
Hammer that bet.
Hammer it.
That is my best bet of the weekend.
Which means Cameron has to bet against it.
Oh, I have to fade you guys.
You've
gotten me into some trouble with your that bet this season.
Cameron's out here talking some smack on Saturday.
Bro, that Arizona Stanford game when they're an 11.5 point favorite, you said hammer it. Come on.
We're right there agreeing with us.
I'm not.
Yeah, you were.
No, you're bad influences. No,
good. Take Oklahoma
fade
State.
them every
how
time.
It goes for you.
Fade them every time.
We'll see how it goes. I'll bet 100. You bet 100. How about that?
Dude, I don't have 100 in my account. I ain't reloading.
Cameron just paid rent.
No, not that account. I got money. It's in my betting account. I got to go to the next one, see what the next like free deal is when you start a new account. That's what I do. I roll from app to app, just getting new account bonuses.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I don't have one this week. Oh, I do. Texas A&M at Tennessee. It's Tennessee minus 3.5. Hammer that one too. I do not believe in this Texas A&M team at all. I know they kept it close with Alabama. I don't see it.
My other one was Louisville Pitt. Louisville's a 7.5 point favorite. I
could see a Pitt's 1-4.
Pitt's bad.
Whoa.
Pitt has regressed hard.
Oh yeah,
They've
that one's
regressed
better.
hard.
That one's better than mine. Also, Cameron, make sure you bet on Pitt
Against the line. He's doing it right now. Doing it right now.
I can't wait to just make Cameron lose a bunch of money.
We got to keep track of like when he fades us, like what
That's
what
his
you
job.
make, what
He's
you
the
lose.
producer. He has to keep track of this stuff.
Yep. You got to keep track of your bets on that.
Yeah, I'll keep
Cameron.
track of my season totals so far going with you guys. And since I'm going to start fading you now, I'm going to fade, like one of your hammers every
All
week.
right, do it.
And just
Which
see.
one are you picking this week? Are you fading Kansas or are you fading Louisville? Lawville.
Lawville.
Ooh. It also depends on what the odds are, because
That's funny. Yeah, that's the college football slate this week. Pac-12 owns the week for sure. Tune in Pac-12 football. Let us know what you think about our picks and our top 25. It's going to be a fun weekend of football.
It is. It is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. I'm just going to be in a lot of pain watching a very emotional football game for me. It's going to be very tough. I just got to make sure I can't like jump if like a touchdown is scored or something, because then I have a weird shaped lady on my thigh. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I might like just turn off my phone, put recording on, and then when I get home, just don't turn it. Like, just watch the recording before I turn on my phone.
I have tried. I can't do it. If you can, kudos to you.
I've done it before.
Viewer, can you guys watch games? I can't do it. I don't know if it's because I just don't have the willpower to do so. If it's a team I care, like if it's like the Masters, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'll watch the Masters later and I won't look at the results and stuff. But if it's Oregon football, zero chance. I don't, especially in a game like this, there's no chance. If I know the game's going on, there's no way I can't look at the score. I can't do it.
I've done it a couple times. When it's like, I've done like but I have to do like total media lockdown, right? Like I have to turn off my phone, because if it's on, I'm gonna look.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. Like, if I'm somewhere, I guess if I'm somewhere with my family, I could probably do it if I turn my phone off. But if I'm somewhere by myself and like Kate has the kids and I can't turn my phone off, no chance. No chance.
Didn't we do it one time at a Buff game when we were out there? I'm pretty sure
tried.
we did.
I probably failed miserably, but that was probably also before I had kids, so I could turn my phone off.
Fair.
But I also think they flashed all the scores up in the third quarter, and we ended up seeing
They
it.
did.
You
they
are
did.
correct.
Oh yeah.
You are correct. We
yeah,
did such a good job.
It was in Oregon. We were crushing it the whole game, and then all of a sudden there's like the third quarter intermission. We're like, oh man.
Luckily, they were up like 30, so it didn't
Yeah.
matter. But
Didn't matter in the long run, but we did do that. I totally forgot that they flashed up the scores.
yep.
Oh, buddy.
All right, I think it's your buzzer beater this week, my guy.
Is it my buzzer beater?
It was mine last week, so
All right.
there's only one buzzer beater this week. So you should already know what it is.
Should I?
Oh my gosh.
I think I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Go for it. I got it. No, I got it. No, stop talking. I got it. Don't worry.
Listener and viewer, thank you for tuning in. We love you all. For those of you, Torsten, thank you for chiming in. Helmet, thank you for chiming in as well. Those of you that chime in on the chat, we love interacting with you guys throughout the episode. Zeta June, thank you for letting us use your music as our outro. Cameron, pleasure as always. Super producer behind the glass, man behind the scenes, betting against us. Always a pleasure having you on.
And radio listener too.
And radio listener. Hope you guys have a great Saturday of college football. Great Pac-12 slate for you guys coming up today. Eli, until next week, please take us away.
So it took me a second. I was like, what could this buzzer beater be? But then I remembered, and I know it for sure, because my buzzer beater is Dubs down, baby.
Deuces.